Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights.
All right, guys, season 9. I'm still in awe that we're in season 9. If you've been with us on this incredible journey through all these seasons, therefore, the longest time, I kind of called myself the accidental podcaster. So the idea that here we are going into season 9 is pretty amazing. And I'm excited to have a special guest with me today to celebrate the first episode of season 9. And she's going to be talking today just about cultivating empowerment and harnessing belief and language for success. And I'm going to let her jump in and tell us a little bit about her and what she does. And then we're going to get into the conversation.
All right. Thank you, Maria. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Kamladevi Sharma. I support action-taking leaders and entrepreneurs to live a life of fun vacation, even if they are overwhelmed or frustrated or they're pressured with deadlines. I support you so that you can feel more at ease, more in flow with your life. You can be successfully chaotic, without the overwhelm, without the stress, without the burnout. And we do this using energetically aligned mindset strategies.
So I think a lot of people, especially if they have kids and, jobs and all the things, right? I think that what you're saying is that it's not that you're not going to get stressed sometimes, right? And it's not that there will be the moment of overwhelm, but the idea is to not stay there. And I think what you were saying just about, harnessing your mindset and thoughts energetically, I think kind of thinking at everything from a holistic view, I think is so important when you are dealing with, trying to maintain all of these different facets of our lives. When I know you're a coach, and I know that you work with a lot of business owners. Do you primarily work with moms, or is it just kind of like anybody?
I generally work with anyone, leaders, as long as you're in a leadership role. If you're an entrepreneur, mompreneurs, I have a lot of mompreneurs in my group. So you can go with the flow. Whatever you want to work on in terms of your mindset, your energy, the strategies you're adopting, then we'll work on that.
So I'm assuming that maybe your own personal journey kind of led you down this path. I know that happens with a lot of us entrepreneurs. We either see kind of a gap in a specific industry, or we're maybe super passionate about something, or we've experienced a specific thing within our journey, and that led us to start a business to be able to help that same issue because we've experienced it. Can you tell me a little bit more about your own journey and how that transitioned into what you do now?
All right. So my journey really started in 2016 when I left my corporate job. I was 3 months pregnant, and it was a really incredible job. I loved it, but I couldn't sustain the pace anymore because it was really a high pressured environment, very high pace, right? I was in a management role. I was the leader. And it just so happens that I was 3 months pregnant and my body couldn't go anymore. I was at that stage of burnout. I was at that stage of overwhelm and feeling a lot of stress. And I had to make that decision. I had to make it for my own mental, physical, and emotional well-being. But when I left that job, it was really the first time in my 10 years of working that I was financially dependent on someone, and I didn't know how to be that person, right? Because I was MBA qualified, I was super successful, I was a high achiever in university, right? So things were always perfect in my world. So to be dependent on someone financially was like a little blow to my ego. And so because I had the drive to keep going and to keep having that money coming into my hands, I Googled, I searched online for online jobs just to get the momentum flowing, right? And at that time, my husband and I were building our home. So the extra income was always welcome. And it was really from that, like starting my journey online, researching online gigs, connecting with people, researching, using Facebook groups, meeting new people. Then I discovered, there's a lot more to the mindset and to really the environment that I was accustomed to, right? There is a whole heap of inner journey that needs to be explored. So it was really from my own dive into my personal self, into my mindset, and into really deciding on the energy that I wanted to show up with every day, that I said, okay, so I know what it feels like to be at that stage of burnout. I know what it feels like to be stressed and overwhelmed, frustrated, and to not have money coming in your hands when you really want money to come in your hands. But I also know what it feels like to be in that state of ease and flow, and to be vibrating so high and allowing things to just perfectly align and fall into place for you. And I was like, yes, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to help people with their mess, right? I'm going to help them with their mindset, their energy, their strategy, and their soulful outcomes. And this is what is going to make it impactful in the world today.
Well, and I love that you said that, because so many leaders and entrepreneurs find themselves in that very scenario that you described. I can't even tell you the number of people that I've talked to that they started their business because of the same thing. They had to leave their corporate job for whatever reason, or they got laid off, or there was an illness or something happened that was the catalyst for them starting their business. And anybody that started a business can tell you that you think you know so many things until you start your business, and very quickly you find out how many things you actually do not know. And I tell people that, because if you've not started a business before, it can be, like you said, like a hit to your ego. Like, oh, I feel like because I was always did great in my positions that I worked, but when I started in my own business, I didn't think about all the things that were going on behind the scenes that I never had to touch. And I wasn't necessarily good at all of them. And I think that is where a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves. And then all of a sudden they start questioning, should I have done this? Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? While at the same time managing the rest of their life. And, it's no wonder that so many businesses fail within their first year. And then the ones that survived that
Yeah.
first year fell before 3 years, and then 5 years. And it just, like, the amount of businesses that are able to kind of make it past that 5 year mark, sadly, is a very small percentage of the ones that started. And I think a lot of that is because of that beginning overwhelm, that people are not preparing them for the fact that, what, you are going to be stressed. You are going to feel overwhelmed because you've never done this before. It's new.
Right.
And I think having those steps and having somebody to kind of work with them on the things that they need to do to lessen the overwhelm and lessen the stress, and start to really dive into the things that are getting their life in order and getting them to feel better energetically and changing their mindset. I think that is huge. Let me ask you,
Right.
when you work with a client, how do you guide your client to better understand themselves in order to effectively maybe communicate their needs? Or, because that's one of the problems I see, is that people, strong, independent entrepreneurs, we're very bad at asking for help.
Yeah. Well, for me, and based on the work that I'm doing with my clients, it really starts with a big vision that we have, because not many of us know what we want to achieve, right? We know, okay, we're going to start this online job, but why are we starting it, right? What is the bigger picture? What is this leading to? Why do we even want to be in this space? Because yes, having a brick and mortar store is very, very much different than having an online store. And presenting yourself online is very different experience from being in person. So we have to have that foundation. We have to have that clarity in place. Why do you want what you want? If you are a mom, why are you a mom, right? If you are an online entrepreneur, why are you an online entrepreneur? Is it for the sole purpose of making the money? Is it for having a better quality of life? Is it for, for your grandkids? Who is it for? Why are you even taking this step forward? So without that clarity piece, it becomes a little shaky with every other action and every other decision that you take. So that's the first thing that I would ask my clients. So why are you an entrepreneur? Why do you want this, right? And what is the bigger picture to this? What is this leading to? What is this going to allow you to have in your life? What kind of experiences do you want this to contribute to your life? So that is where we start. And then I get into their mess. So for me, mess is all about your mindset, your energy, your strategy, and your soulful outcomes, right? So your soulful outcomes will be that big vision that you have, but that may not be what is your current reality. So obviously there is a path to travel. There is a strategic direction that you need to take too. So it's where exactly did you come from? Where are you now? Where would you like to go? Basic strategic management, right? So we look at your mess and we look at it in the reverse aspect. So we look at your soulful outcomes. What do you want? We look at the strategies that you're using right now. What tools do you have? In what way are you implementing yourself? What actions are you taking right now to get to where you want to go? What energy are you showing up with? Like, how much do you feel connected to what you're doing? How much do you like what you're doing? How happy and fulfilling does this make you feel? And then we look at your mindset altogether. What do you believe about what you're doing? What do you believe about your ability to get to where you want to go? What do you believe about the people around you and the quality of support that you're receiving? What do you believe about the customers that you interact with and the audience that you're speaking to, right? Because without understanding your beliefs or the way you think about everything that interacts with that interacts with your business, then it will be very difficult for you to align and to really meet them and connect to them in a way that is going to cultivate them enough so that you build that relationship and you can actually make sales.
I think that's absolutely true. And I know I was sitting there thinking, about some examples in my own mind of where I've seen people kind of shift those aspects in their life and what bloomed from that. And I think, a lot of people, if they've never kind of experienced really focusing on that fulfillment mindset journey, a lot of times they don't understand what type of an impact that has on every aspect of your life, including your business, including where you're standing financially, including everything, because it all trickles down. And I think that is so important to really hone in on. And, choosing fulfillment is absolutely a huge part of this. And, it is very fulfilling to work on your mindset. It's very fulfilling to work on, looking at these things in every aspect of your life. Would Do you have an example of maybe where you can share where you've seen an entrepreneur's mindset shift when they started paying attention to some of these moments between the moments?
Yes. So I take one of my current clients. So she's been with me for a year now, right? And we've explored different aspects of her wheel of life, because that's where it begins, your wheel of life, the things that really impact you, or the different areas of your life that are important to you. So we've explored love and relationships, family and friends, vacation, recreation, personal development. We've explored her physical environment, all aspects of her wheel of life. But the one aspect, her money area, that needed extra attention, because she couldn't understand why is it that she has switched jobs. She has switched like 3 4 jobs in the past year. She also has this online store that she is establishing, and she couldn't bridge the gaps. Like, she couldn't understand why is it that she's not earning as fast as she's accustomed to. Why is it that she cannot be as successful in her online store as she is successful in her teaching gig and in her office job? And when we explore her mindset a little bit, especially around money, we realize that her dad always told her that there is more safety and there's job security in having your own in having a corporate job, that when you're on your own or when you have your own business, the risk is very high. So this is something that she grew up hearing, and she watched her father too fail in business several times. Now when she started to explore this and she really went deep into it to release it, she realized that, oh well, this doesn't need to be her story, that the time in which her dad would have established himself and put his hand towards being an entrepreneur is very different. The circumstances are very different. The quality of knowledge and information out there at that time is very different from what it is right now. And she has so much more that her dad didn't have, so much more talent and skills, that if she just learned how to apply them and use them in the way that they can really tell the story of who she is and what she's capable of, she would definitely draw that connection with her clients. So that's something that we started to work on immediately, releasing that scarcity mindset, releasing that risk, and just allowing herself to really sit in her natural state of abundance. And the next day when after that call, the next day when she went to the store to get a water heater, she got it on a deal, and she was like, wow, I saw it. I saw how it shifted immediately. Because in the past, when she would have gone shopping, she used to look for the bargains, but this one just happened to be there, and it was of the best quality brand name. It was very functional. It was everything that she desired, but she just didn't know that, this is everything that I wanted, just by releasing that scarcity mindset, by allowing herself to breathe a little bit more freely into who she truly is, into the essence of who she is.
Absolutely. Well, and I know there are a lot of people talking about like abundant mindset, and some people, if they've never heard really about what does that mean, I think it just kind of like goes in one ear and out the other. But where you focus, you follow, and I think that
Yeah.
is so true. And using kind of just like a real life application that most people understand, it's like if you're driving a car, where you look, you're going to tend to steer that way. And I think,
Yeah.
for people that don't really understand how powerful your mindset can actually be, think about it like that. It's where your vision is, where you're looking, and your life is going to follow. And, I think another thing that people kind of get confused with this whole journey, this whole positive mindset and abundance mindset journey, is that means that, everything is going to be, perfect, and you're never going to have stress and problems again, which again is not true. That just means that the way you handle them is going to be much different
Yeah.
than before,
Hmm.
and I think those are great, things to think about. And I love your example because it's very real in a way that I think a lot of people can relate to, because, depending on what age the listener is, most of us can at least think of an example of someone who, grew up back in a time where we didn't have the internet. I mean, we didn't have the internet when I was young, we didn't have anything like that. And, being able to have access to, like right now, we're streaming all over the place. You couldn't have done that.
Right.
There's so many things that you can do now, which allows for more opportunities. And so some of these people that didn't have that in a time where they tried to start a business or tried to do this or that or the other, they can already have kind of that negative mindset, that trauma from it, that fear
Right.
around it. But, it's fine to take the lessons that they have to teach you on some things, but make sure that you're kind of turning that and making it your own. I really love that. I know we talked a little bit off air just about your belief and connection between, your business, your life, health, nutrition, with the mindset and behavior. Can you kind of dive into that a little bit and explain how entrepreneurs can become more aware of how like their health and wellness impacts their entrepreneurship journey?
All right. So it's not all about mindset, right? And I think this is where lots of entrepreneurs, especially mompreneurs, they get carried away, right? Especially in the online space too, that they believe that okay, they need to be working on their mindset, and they're applying the affirmations, and they're doing all of the mindset things, but things are just not working. As mompreneurs, we really need to be cognizant of the quality of changes that take place in our body. Having a baby, having back to back pregnancies, having twins, having miscarriages, even, right? It affects our mental, physical, and emotional health. Whether we think it doesn't, whether we think we're the strong horses and we can go again, no, every single time that we experience pregnancy, we have a child, or we experience some aspect of pregnancy, our body is changing. And when we're not eating, when we're overwhelmed and stressed, and when we're at that very high paced corporate job and we're pregnant, that baby is feeding off of the nutrition that we already have within us. You're not putting anything in there, but that baby is feeding off of what you have. So when that baby comes out now, right? Obviously, you're in a state of depletion because you haven't been putting in extra. You're putting in enough to sustain what you're currently going through, the kind of changes you're currently going through. So usually after pregnancy, we'll find, and even I went through this, there are periods of postpartum depression. There are periods where, the mindset work just doesn't work because there's no justification for why you feel so ugly within, why you don't want to talk to anyone. Why is it that you're in a social space and you're laughing and yapping and you're having fun, but when you're going to bed at night, you don't want to wake up the next morning, right? Why is it that you're feeling so traumatized? Why do you feel as if life is such a big punishment? There's nothing that can explain that. And there's no level of mindset work that can help you with that if you don't check in on what is happening with your physical body. So, what I found is that if you are deficient in iron, if you're low in your magnesium and in your zinc and your calcium altogether, but iron, especially if you're iron deficient, you'll find that you get very tired and frustrated easily, that your attention span is not there. So even if you're sitting in front of the computer and you're expected to be in this creative flow and you're blocking out time to be in creative flow, but you just can't flow, it's not necessarily a mindset strategy that you need to apply. You need to take a look at your health. What is happening in your body? What is your body asking for? And if you're waking up every day tired or exhausted, or if you're going to bed tired and exhausted, then you need to check in on that. It's not normal. So before we start all of the mindset work, and we think, oh, mindset is going to solve everything and we're going to take actionable steps and change our mindset. Take a step back and check in on what's happening with your body, because even your body needs to be able to catch up with the quality of mindset shift that you're allowing in your life.
Yeah.
So that's how mindset and your body really makes a difference in the quality of experiences you have and really how successful you are as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Well, and I know, for my own journey, I'm very much into wellness, and I've been involved in the wellness world for over 20 years at this point, which is dating me, but I digress. But I think that, a lot of people try to separate, and I did this for the longest time, right? We try to compartmentalize and quote unquote organize our life. Like, okay, my wellness world is here, whether you're involved in a wellness industry or we're just talking about your own wellness, eating healthy and exercising and whatnot, and then my family life is here, and then my business life is here. And it doesn't work like that because we don't have separate bodies, right? We have one body and we have one life. And, the idea that we can organize these things in these separate compartments, I tried to do it and it drove me crazy, to be honest, because there's no way to kind of keep all those things separate, especially when you have kids and, and a partner or a husband or a wife or whatever your, situation in your household is. Like, there's so many, every layer you add, it makes it even more important that you kind of integrate your life more holistically. And you're so right on your thought, and that, adding in the fact that having great nutrition and looking at deficiencies is a huge part of your entrepreneur journey. Not just about, how you look. It's not just about even how you feel necessarily, which is great too, but it also is directly responsible to how well you think, how well you perform, how all of those things. And, I think that's why if you look at a lot of these high performers like Grant Cardone's and like Dean Graciazzi and every other person fell out of my brain right now. But some of these high performers, right? Mel, what's her last name? She's a podcaster too. Yeah, thank you. They all talk about their fitness routines and their wellness routines and their nutrition. And there's a reason for this. It's because they correlated that idea that you have to connect everything together, because we're one person, we're one body, and we have to look at everything from this holistic view. And that was another thing I wanted to kind of talk about while we were on here today, is I know you are very much a fan of really in bringing your children into, your business world and your family, and kind of running your business and family life in tandem. And I love that. I wish I had done that from the beginning. I did not. I am to the point now that I do. And, yes, there's more stressful moments. I made a funny little TikTok earlier about having to take my kids to a meeting, and some days that doesn't go the way that I planned. But all in all, it's a learning experience for them. It's a learning experience for me sometimes, and it's a whole lot less stressful than when I was trying to figure out how to keep it completely separated all the time.
Good. So the habit to keep it separate is really a corporate habit, right? Because when we're in the office, that is how it works. When we're on our own time, we don't have structure. And this is where the efficiency of using our time and energy is really important. We have to be able to look at what needs our attention and how are we going to prioritize our list of things or our to-do list or things to get done when it comes to having our kids in our pool. So I was totally unprepared when COVID-19 hit, right? And the pandemic came and the kids were at home. And I was at that point in my life where my business was growing. I was 6 months out of having surgery. I had a baby. And I learned to be successfully chaotic during this period of time. I had to develop the skills because firstly it's overwhelm and it's frustration because you don't have the skills to deal with the problem, right? So you feel floored by it, you feel pressured and attacked by it because you need to develop the skills. So it was really during that time that I learned to develop the skill that okay, so we need to work smarter, we don't need to work harder, because that was the mindset that I was trying to release at that time. I do not want the hustle mentality. I
Right.
do not want to feel burnout and the stress anymore. I was tired of it from corporate, right? So I taught to myself, well, look, I need to look at the pockets of time that I have in my day that I can bring them into my world. So I know I have specific needs. I have the need to be in creative flow. I have the need to time block and put my hands on the keyboard. So when I have the need to be in creative flow, that's when my kids are being creative as well. That's when they're coloring and they're painting and they're doing everything creative. When I'm cooking, and I feel pressure that I have to get household chores done, and I know that they also need to catch up on their schoolwork. I bring them into my world. Like for example, Drew, for my eldest, he's 7 and he's very fluent in reading. So I know the more he reads, the more he knows, right? So I give him a book. I was like, come keep mommy company and read to me as I do this. So that way I am hitting two birds with one stone. I'm developing my skill set. I'm getting what I need to get done. And I'm also helping them to develop their skill set. Because if we think about it, what really makes us feel angry and frustrated in the moment is when we don't get to do what we intend to do, right? And to give a child our time and energy, it feels as if our entire day is being spent behind this child. Now, I have 3 kids, right? And to divide myself among the 3 of them, as well as grow my business, answer client calls. I also do corporate training here in Guyana. So there are times when I'm here on a Zoom for 1.5, 2 hours, I'm in a training. So I needed to find a way to make it all work because this is what drives me. This is where my fulfillment is. This is my blueprint. And I have accepted that. I've accepted that I've come from the work hard mindset. I've accepted that I came from a lot of hustle energy. I've accepted that I don't want to be financially dependent. I want to have that safety and I enjoy the feeling. I enjoy feeling safe enough that I'm making my own money. I mean, my husband can make a lot more than I make, right? But it's really for my own personal satisfaction and my own fulfillment, right? And it may still be a little bit of ego in there, like not wasting my education kind of thing, because that has its own trauma attached to it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really for me to be able to meet everyone halfway as well as meet myself halfway. Because if I had to dedicate all of my time and energy to ensuring that my kids' skills are developed, then what becomes of me, right? What will happen to my mindset? I'll be in a state of depletion because I'll only be given. And I did not want to be in that state of depletion of only given because I knew what it was from corporate. That's what I did in corporate. I wasn't going to do it as a mompreneur. I want to be able to have that level of balance. And to do that, I looked at ways in which I can bring them into my world. So Obviously, there are times when they cannot be there, and I make arrangements for them to be taken care of at those moments. Like, for example, this meeting, right? They're not going to be here. When I'm in my trainings, they're not there. But when I know their activities and tasks to be done, that they can develop their skill set as well as I get things done, and I don't have to feel the pressure of needing to give them attention and needing to give this task or this activity attention, then I allow it to flow and integrate it. It's just not one or the other, it's everything all at once. And it can feel successfully chaotic, but it just really takes a moment to step back, to take a few deep breaths and pull yourself together. You have to want that for yourself too. Because a lot of times I find that parents lead the conversations with their kids from an ego perspective. I'm your mom, I am your dad. You need to listen to me. It's either you listen to me or you don't, right? And then they use threatening language with them, and it just spirals the relationship downwards. And with young kids, like my kids, I can use that language with them, and it will work for a minute or two, but they go back, they revert to their old behavior. It's the same thing that would press my buttons. So being able to cultivate the language and lead by the desire in those moments really makes the difference in getting it all to align perfectly for you, so that you have more ease, you have more flow, you have less stressful moments. And it comes back to the fact of knowing what you want, right? So only if you know what you want, then can you lead the conversation with your desire.
No, I think
Makes
yeah, it
sense.
makes perfect sense, and I think that I think that's great, and I think I 100% agree with using specific language with kids. Now I have my moments. I'm a
Yeah.
little sarcastic. I have my moments
Yeah.
that I'm like, okay, I could have handled that better. But I think that's another thing is being able to step up and say, you know what, I could have handled that better, because again, they learn. They learn from us,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's one thing that I want to kind of throw out there to people that are listening is, some days I do great, I do amazing. And some days I'm like, oh, I could have handled all of that better. This was not my best
Mm-hmm.
day. And I just kind of dust that off and I do better the next time. And I think that's part of the entrepreneur journey. And I think that's part of just the human journey is the fact that some days you're going to be able to, make that list and check it off and do everything great. Be like, yeah, this was a great day. And then the next day is going to be a dumpster fire. And you have to kind of figure out, okay, well, what could have went better? What can I change next time? And it's all about kind of balancing that out. Now I know I get a lot of questions from people, and I actually have some in my box right now that I'm looking at, and they're all related to stepping out of their corporate job and how to make that transition from most people are on salary at that point to being able to dive into an entrepreneurship journey. And you've been there, I've been there, and there's some like lessons I'm sure we both could teach just on that subject alone. But I know you have a program that's kind of around that money area. And I wanted you to kind of share a little bit about that, because when you are stepping out of that corporate, you know, job into an entrepreneurship journey, that can be a stress. And even if you've been in an entrepreneurship journey, that can be a stress. Or even if you're still in corporate, money can be a stress, right? Money can be a stress. And so I really would love you to kind of share with us a little bit about that.
All right, so that program is Money Overflows. And Money Overflows was really created from my drive to remain financially independent, right? And in corporate, I was trained to be scarcity in my thinking, because where will we get the money from, Kabla? That was like the number one question my boss would ask me every time a bill came in, every time payroll was to be made, where will we get the money from to pay this bill? And it was like, I didn't understand it back then because I wasn't studying it. But now that I studied it and I worked with it and I understand, oh, there is a whole psychology to money. So Money Overflows really helps you to get the hang of psychology of money. It helps you to step into the overflow, because when we think about it, money overflows. Money is being literally printed every single millisecond of the day all over the world. And if we think about the abundance of money that's in circulation in the world, right? Yes, you and I may be small people as compared to the governments and the big ones out there, and we may not have access to that money. Fine. But what is stopping us from receiving more than what we are receiving? Nothing, right? So that is what money overflows is really about. It is helping you to get into the psychology of money so that you can get money working better for you. As an entrepreneur, there's so much that shows up in your money story that you would not even realize that is impacting your money mess. And as we said, mess is your mindset, energy, strategy, and your outcomes, right? So money overflows really helps leaders and entrepreneurs, mompreneurs especially, to get money to work better for them, get them to feel the fulfillment, the ease, and to step into their personal overflow, because money literally overflows in our world, and we are each worthy of allowing that flow into our life.
Now, and I think that a lot of people do let the idea that, well, I can't start my business because I don't have enough money. Well, I can't do this because I don't have enough money. And
Time and money.
oh yeah, time is a big one. And I get that, right? I've been there and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have time. But, being able to really be conscientious about your money and be conscientious about your time. You realize you have more than you think you do. And it's just being conscientious about how
Yeah.
you're using it. And that's another thing that I do love about what you were saying earlier about with your kids, and cooking while they're reading you a book. And, I think as moms, we naturally do those things anyway. We're constantly multitasking, but somehow when we start a business, we forget, I guess, that you can still do that with your business, right? You can kind of pair some of those things up. And I think that that is a great strategy to save time, to make you more present with your family, to save you money, because time is money. And I think those are things that, people can really look into. Like, what are some things that you can do to be able to free up that time where you can allow more money to come into your life, to free up that time where you can, take on that wellness program that you need to do for your own health, to be able to take that time. I think again, it's just coming back to your mindset and being conscientious about that within your own life. Now, I do want to ask you, like, I know you have the program. Is there anywhere else that people can reach you? We'll put the link to the program in the show notes. This will be airing too. So if you're listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, it's in the show notes. But I'll make sure that it gets shared out in the comments after we're done with the slide. But is there anywhere else that people can find you?
Yeah, people can find me on LinkedIn. My name, Kamladevi Sharma. You can find me on Facebook as well, Kamladevi Sharma. I have a Facebook group, Revive and Thrive, for the success of entrepreneurs and leaders. You can get me there too. I'm also on Instagram at revive.coach. So there are quite a few ways in which persons can reach me. My website, https://revive.coach. You'll see all that I'm up to there, and we can always stay connected.
I think it's great. And as we kind of wrap this up, can you give our listeners a few actionable steps that they can implement right away so they can start navigating the overwhelm and embracing some empowered entrepreneurship for this journey?
Sure. Okay, so firstly, quit thinking that it's hard. It's not hard. Sit with a pen and paper and ask yourself, what do I want? Why do I want? What do I want? What do I believe about what do I want? How does what do I want make me feel? Right? Use these four questions to help you to navigate your next step. If you notice you're fearful, you're anxious, you're uncertain, you think it's stupid to do this, if you notice that this is not who you are, I should just go back and get a job, if these are the thoughts that come up for you, this is good. This is the starting place. This is where you get to understand your mess altogether. You get a better understanding of what you're thinking, how you feel, the kind of strategies you're using, and the kind of outcomes. It gives you the justification for the kind of outcomes, the kind of results that you have in your life right now. And if you want different results, you have to be willing to do something different. Start with money overflows. Start with working with a coach. Start with that one thing that makes you feel shaken, that one thing that makes you feel so scared and insecure. And oftentimes it comes back to money. It comes back to a money story. I have to leave my job. I don't have money. I got to pay the bills. I got kids to look after. It comes back to money. So work on that and then work your way forward.
No, I think that's great. And like I said, you can actually we're sharing it right now. You'll be able to see the link for the Money Overflows product that Kamla has in the comments here on the live. And if you're listening to this in the podcast, it will be in the show notes. But I really enjoyed having you on today. I think, there's so much that we've unpacked today that I feel like we could do like 4 separate episodes, because we've had to just kind of like brush over all these areas. But I wanted to kind of get all of that in there and get people's wheels kind of turning, because there's not this one magic thing that's going to make you less overwhelmed, right? It doesn't work like that. But if you're kind of looking at these different aspects and figuring out that we are just one person, right, with one life, I think that's a good start. But you have to focus on all these areas and kind of tweak those a little bit as you go along. And I love that you mentioned to start thinking about, how do you feel right now? Because that's where we have to start. We have to start right now. Is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners before we end?
Lastly, I want to bring this to everyone's attention. Remember to pay attention to what you say, right? Because in this body, we're using our 5 senses automatically all the time. These 5 senses are picking up information all the time. And as you say it, you're also affirming it for yourself. So if you keep saying, this is hard, this is not for me, this is not going to work, I cannot do this is nonsense, every single negative statement that you speak, you voice, you're also affirming it for yourself, because your ears are listening to what you're saying. So even though it's coming out, it's also coming back in. Right, the brain is going to process it. So keep that in mind as you move forward, as whatever decisions you take in your journey. If you decide to do it on your own, I started on my own, and I struggled for 3 years before I really kicked off, because I didn't know better, right? I'm in a third world country. I don't know better, right? But when you get out there and you give, or at least you feel connected to someone, and you give them the chance to help you to elevate, to get to where they are, it helps you to be in such an incredible flow and to have more ease, more joy, and more fulfillment in your life. Just make that decision for yourself.
Thank you so much for being on today. This has been great. And for any of the people listening, thank you for tuning in. If you're not already a subscriber, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this with someone that you think would find this valuable. Until next time.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know.